This colossal Doom Lord, one of the largest and mightiest creatures in the armies of the Legion, got messed up a couple months ago, and we're gonna mess him up again. Hey, it's So, bringing you the World of Warcraft, and today we're gonna tackle Krosus, or at least I'm gonna tell you how I tanked him. This fight is more or less a practice in throughput. Executing on the mechanics is pretty simple, but pretty merciless too if you mess up. So first, let's go over the loadout. Today I went for Blessed Hammer, First Avenger, Blinding Light for the damage, Blessing of Spell Warding, Hand of the Protector, Judgment of Light, and Righteous Protector. The damage that the tanks are going to take during this fight is pretty darn massive. You're going to be using your cooldowns at pretty precise times to protect yourself as well as your co-tank. When we start the fight, we go ham, popping bloodlust, using the good pots, all that stuff. There are two important mechanics to keep an eye out for. One is called Slam, a really simple and obvious circle on the ground that you just need to stand under, and the boss will smash you in the face for pretty high physical damage. Just make sure you have a Shield of the Righteous charge available before you get hit. Keep in mind that for every third slam, the boss is going to destroy a part of the bridge. You're not going to be using your Divine Steed for anything else during this fight, so just make sure it's available before that third slam goes off. The second, and in my opinion the more critical thing to look out for, is called Searing Brand. This is the tank swap mechanic, and it does a huge amount of ticking damage. In fact, I'm surprised it's not even in the overview for this fight. But yeah, it's no joke, Searing Brand is going to tear you up. The rule of thumb is to swap every 5 stacks. But so you guys know, from the footage in this video, we tried taunting at 4 stacks, and we ran into some issues with possibly becoming tank immune, or we caused some sort of aggro issue. So for safety, taunt at 5 stacks, but if you can taunt at 4 and get away with it, that's going to save a lot of stress from you and your healers. But for the purpose of this guide, we're going to assume 5 stacks. At 5 stacks, the other tank should taunt, but the damage from Searing Brand is so great that healers will still need to pay attention to you. Now I found that when tanking this fight, 4 stacks is when I'm taking the highest amount of damage because 1, I'm taking some pretty heavy dot damage, and 2, the boss is still smashing me in the face. 4 stacks is basically game time. I blew all my charges from Shield of the Righteous, and from there there's about 15 or so seconds of time where you're just going to take a lot of heavy dot damage. And you can manage this a number of ways, including using Eye of Tyr, Hand of the Protector, Ardent Defender, Guardian of the Ancient Kings, anything. Of course, the other thing to keep in mind is that when the other tank is approaching 3 or 4 stacks, that's pretty much the apex of tank damage throughout the entire fight. So what I did was this: at 4 stacks I popped all my charges of Shield of the Righteous and hoped that my co-tank will taunt off of me. From there I just try to manage my damage, try to heal myself, anything like that before there's about 10 or so seconds left on the debuff. That's when I would try to pop a major cooldown such as Blessing of Spell Warding, my Divine Shield, something like that. By the time that wears off, I'd taunt back and we kind of resume the same routine. Again, managing this debuff is pretty essential to keep the rest of your healers at ease. The only other mechanic to look out for is Burning Pitch, that green stuff on the ground. It can be pretty devastating if no one is available to catch the green stuff, because an ad will spawn that's going to cause a pretty big DPS loss, and these things do a lot of damage anyway. So if you can, help soak the damage, regardless of if you have the debuff or not. It's not a whole lot of damage. Of course, there's the obvious Fell Beam to look out for, just move to the left and right. And then finally there's the Orb of Destruction, which was kind of outside of your control, but you should probably be aware of anyway. When Orb of Destruction is thrown, it's going to target a ranged player, and they're supposed to move as far away from the raid as possible. If they do, the damage is negligible, you don't have much to worry about. If they don't, you're probably going to take a lot of damage without even really knowing it. So if you suddenly get spiked and die, it's probably not your fault. This is a pretty simple fight, so I'll summarize really quick. Avoid the Fell Beam, mitigate the slam, taunt at 5 stacks and mitigate the damage. When there's about 8 to 10 seconds left on the debuff, pop a major cooldown to mitigate more of the damage and help your healers out. And that's pretty much it. As long as DPS are on top of their game, you should have this boss down without too much trouble. I hope this guide was helpful for you guys. If so, hit a like, sub for more content, and otherwise I'll see you at the next boss. I'm Soul. Stay breezy, guys.